Chapter 265. In the fortress, an emperor level glanced at Yi Tian and said, 100,000 yuan gas stone for a token. 100,000 yuan chi stones is nothing for a powerful emperor rank, but it is not a small amount for a saint rank, and many poor saint rank are estimated to be unable to make up 100,000 yuan chi stones. And entering the ruins of the Azure Sword sect does not mean that there will be a gain. It is very likely that there will be nothing, then it will be a blood loss. But even so, there are quite a few saint-level people who want to enter the ruins of the Azure Sword sect, and they are basically swordsmen. In case you get a relatively powerful sword skill in the Azure Sword sect, you can make a lot of money by selling it. Every time, there were some saint-level who had obtained treasures in the Azure Sword sect, and thus soared to surpass other saint-level. This is 100,000 vitality stones. Yi Tian took out 100,000 yuan chi stones and obtained a token. Immediately, he took this token and opened the formation that enveloped the mountain range, and flew towards the peak where the Azure Sword sect was located. Landing in front of the mountain peak, Yi Tian stared at this defensive array, and walked straight over. This large defensive array only defends against attacks and emperor-level powerhouses, and saint-level powerhouses can easily walk in as long as they don't urge Yuan Li. Yi Tian restrained his breath and walked over slowly. Wow! The formation screen was pierced by Yi Tian, and he successfully entered the ruins of the Azure Sword sect. Sure enough, I was able to come in. With my natural situation, even if this body only opened up 86% of the deep brain domain, it was enough to be invincible to the saint-level level. Yi Tian said confidently, the ruins of the Azure Sword sect are not small, occupying a radius of about 100 miles, and the towering buildings are located in this mountain-like peak, and the huge mountain peaks seem to be the pillars of heaven and earth. Yi Tian's copying talent could now cover a distance of 100,000 meters, so it was enough to envelop the entire Azure Sword sect ruins. Rumble. The copying talent shrouded in, and a saint-level talent appeared on Yi Tian's retina. Among them, most of the saint levels have sword skills. Medium knife talent, advanced sword talent, elementary sword talent, top sword talent. A large number of sword skills talents shocked Yi Tian. If these swordsmen were all disciples of the Heavenly Pavilion, how powerful the Heavenly Pavilion should be. It's a pity that these swordsmen come from various forces, and it is impossible for them to be recruited by Tianj. Even if he was really recruited, he did not dare to guarantee the loyalty of these people. Found it. Yi Tian's expression moved, and he saw the talent of the Holy Light Sword Saint. Human, Berry Cable. Cultivation talent, Hui Wei. Strength talents, Arcanon. Speed talent, Pseudo-Arcane, 60%. Defense talent, Pseudo-Arcane, 70%. Light Escape talent, Top. Knife talent, Morningstar. Judging from the talent of the Holy Light Sword Saint, the opponent's Arcane level strength talent and Morningstar sword skill talent were enough to make the opponent's strength easily crush other saint levels, and even most of the Emperor level were not his opponents. Such a holy level is also the top genius in the God of War Temple, second only to the mysterious Emperor of the God of War Temple. Yi Tian guessed that the Emperor should also be at the Arcane level in terms of speed talent and defense talent, which surpassed the Holy Light Sword Saint and won the name of the Emperor, and the reputation of the Holy Light Sword Saint was much worse than that of the Emperor of the War God Temple. Without saying a word, copy directly. Yin Yan copied the Morningstar sword technique talent of the Holy Light Sword Saint, and Yi Tian's purpose was accomplished. But he didn't leave. He finally came here. How could he leave easily? It just so happens that he lacks God-level sword skills. What if there are God-level sword skills here? It's unlikely, but you have to hope for it. The location of the Holy Light Sword Saint has gathered a lot of saint levels. There should be a great opportunity there. Just go there. Yi Tian flew over. In a few moments, he came to a square. Behind this square is a majestic temple, and in the middle of the temple there is a huge stone tablet in front of which the saints have gathered. Yi Tian landed on the square, and the other saint levels only glanced at Yi Tian, then stopped paying attention and continued to look at the stone stele. What is this stele? Yi Tian casually asked a saint level beside him. The other party stared at Yi Tian, guessing that Yi Tian was the first time to come to the ruins of the Azure Sword sect, so he explained, "This is the Azure Sword tablet, which is said to contain a big secret, but no one knows what secrets it contains, but it contains a door knife technique." As long as you gaze intently at the azure sword steel, your consciousness will enter the azure sword steel, and then you will see a sword technique, which must be comprehended within the specified time before you can continue to comprehend more powerful sword skills. Anyone who has comprehended the silver-level sword skill is eligible to enter that temple, and as for what is inside the temple, I don't know. I see. Yi Tian was thoughtful. After observing for half an hour, suddenly a burst of white light enveloped the holy light sword saint. At this time, many people exclaimed, "Oh my God! The holy light sword saint has realized the silver-level sword technique and obtained the opportunity to enter the temple. This is the first saint level to enter the azure temple, and it is worthy of the holy light sword saint from the God of War temple, and the morning star sword talent is amazing. 10 days to enter the azure temple. This speed is enough to be among the best in the previous sessions. Hey, we don't even have a chance to enter. There's no way. If you don't have a top-level sword talent, you don't even have any hope at all. In such a short period of time, with our sword talent, there is no hope of succeeding in a silver-level sword skill. I don't know how many saint-level people can enter the azure temple this time. I estimate that there will be no more than 5. 5? Maybe there is only one holy light sword saint, and the top-level sword skills are also good and bad. If the luck is not very good, it will be difficult to successfully comprehend a silver-level sword skill within the specified time. It's only 30 days, and who wants to spend all their time on it? That's right, the ruins of the Azure Sword Sect are not the only ones in this place. There are also many opportunities in other places, and those top sword talent naturally don't want to pin their hopes on the Azure Sword Tablet. In the midst of everyone's discussions, Yi Tian approached the Azure Sword Monument and stared at the Azure Sword Monument. Rumble. An attraction came. Yi Tian did not block this attraction, and along with this attraction, his consciousness came to the Azure Sword Tablet. In a flash, Yi Tian's consciousness came to the inner space of the Azure Sword Tablet. The design of this Azure Sword Tablet is very ingenious. It should be built by a god level. Emperor level can't build such a magical sky blue sword tablet. Yi Tian guessed. Swish! The content of a black iron level sword technique was presented in front of him, and a mechanical voice sounded. Cultivate this black iron level sword skill to the entry level within 10 hours. It is not difficult to cultivate a black iron level sword technique to the beginning in 10 hours. Breeze knife technique. Yi Tian took a look at the content of this black iron level sword technique, and immediately began to comprehend, and after a while, he completely understood the essence of this sword technique. With a thought, a knife appeared in his hand. Abrupt. A wisp of wind blew and turned into a sword light and slashed forward. Breeze knife skills, get started. Then, the mechanical voice sounded again. Introduction to Qingfeng sword technique, the next round of assessment. Within 5 days, a bronze-level sword skill will be introduced. Chapter 266. After the mechanical sound disappeared, a bronze-level sword technique appeared. This is a bronze-level sword technique called the water blue knife technique. It is not too difficult for a top-level sword talent to enter a bronze-level sword technique in 5 days, but it is almost impossible for a high-level sword skill talent, unless they eat an elixir that can improve their comprehension for a short time. But in order to pass this level, such a precious elixir was wasted, and the deal was not worth it. Yi Tian was naturally able to easily comprehend the water blue sword technique to the entry level with his Morningstar sword skill talent, but it was a bit of a waste of time. He came to the Azure Sword Sect ruins later, and there was not enough time, only 20 days. Therefore, it was impossible for him to waste too much time on bronze-level sword skills. Use the top comprehension talent to participate in enlightenment. Yi Tian decided. Rumble. The top-level comprehension talent was opened, and Yi Tian's comprehension suddenly increased by 20 times, and the mysteries of the bronze-level sword technique and the water-blue sword technique were quickly realized by Yi Tian one by one. An hour later, the bronze-level knife technique and the water-blue knife technique were successfully introduced. Yi Tianxi exhibited the water-blue knife technique, and was inspected by the water-blue knife tablet, and the mechanical voice sounded again. Introduction to the water-blue knife technique, the next round of assessment. Within 20 days, a silver-level sword skill will be introduced. Then, a silver-level sword technique appeared in Yi Tian's sight. This is a silver-level sword technique called the Cloud Sword Technique. Under normal circumstances, if a Morning Star sword skill talent wanted to comprehend a silver-level sword technique to the entry level, it would take about 7 or 8 days without the help of a treasure like the Enlightenment Heavenly Monument, such as the Holy Light Sword Saint. 3 assessments, he completed it in 10 days. If UTN opened the top-level comprehension talent, with a 20-fold comprehension increase, he would be able to comprehend the silver-level sword technique Yunxiao sword technique to the entry level in half a day at most. As a result, UTN opened his top-level comprehension talent and continued to comprehend the silver-level sword technique Yunxiao sword technique. Little by little, 10 hours later, UTN's face showed a look of joy. He had already successfully mastered the silver-level sword technique to the entry level, and it had only taken 10 hours, which was not surprising. Immediately, he unleashed the entry-level cloud sword technique. The Azure Sword tablet detected that UTN had cultivated the silver-level sword technique Yunxiao sword technique to the entry level, so it announced that UTN had passed the 3rd level of assessment. A mechanical voice sounded, "Congratulations on passing the 3rd level and obtaining the qualification to enter the Azure Temple." Outside, a white light enveloped UTN on the Azure Sword steel, which meant that UTN had successfully cultivated the silver-level sword technique at the specified time. At this time, many people were shocked. Who is this person who has also successfully comprehended the silver-level sword technique? How do I remember that he just arrived? Am I mistaken? No, he just came here not long ago. It's only been half a day, and he asked me about the Azure Sword Monument before. How could someone be so rebellious? It shouldn't be cheating, right? Maybe it was because he cultivated these sword skills in advance, so he passed the 3rd level assessment so quickly and got the opportunity to enter the Azure Temple. Can't cheat. Everyone sees different sword skills. Unless someone has cultivated countless sword skills, how can they come across the knife skills they are familiar with? But a person's energy is limited. Who can cultivate so many sword skills? Other people's talk. UTN didn't pay attention. At this moment, his consciousness was still in the Azure Sword tablet space. Because, the mechanical voice said again, "Yunxiao sword skill introduction, the next round of assessment. Will you enter a gold-level sword skill within a month? Do you want to continue? A month to enter a gold-level sword skill comprehension. If there is an Enlightenment Monument, it is definitely a very simple matter, and a Morning Star sword talent can easily do it, or even a few days. But there is no Enlightenment Heavenly Monument here. It is all up to you to comprehend the gold-level sword technique, and the Morning Star sword skill talent has no hope of attaining it at all. Besides, even if you can really comprehend a gold-level sword skill to the entry level in a month, there is not enough time. They are not disciples of the Azure Sword sect, and if the ruins of the Blue Sword sect are only open for a month today, after a month, they must leave, otherwise they will not be able to leave. Therefore, the Holy Light Sword Saint did not dare to continue to comprehend, otherwise it would be a waste of time. But UTN can continue to comprehend. He has a 20-fold increase in comprehension, and he also has a 10-fold time to accelerate. Before, he had never used his time talent. Go on, UTN said thoughtfully. Wow, a gold-level sword technique appeared, and it was a gold-level sword skill called Flash Strike. Time talent, on. Top perception talent, open. After UTN opened these 2 talents, he began to quickly comprehend the gold-level sword technique, a Flash Strike. 4 hours in the outside world, UTN has already contemplated 40 hours under the effective time talent. With a 20-fold increase in comprehension, 40 hours of cultivation is equivalent to 800 hours of enlightenment for others, and it is only 720 hours a month. Under this kind of comprehension, UTN finally introduced this gold-level sword technique. Dodge Strike. A golden light flashed in the space of the Azure Sword Monument, representing that UTN had successfully unleashed a Flash Strike. The Azure Sword tablet detected that UTN had cultivated the Flash Strike to the entry level, and a mechanical voice sounded, "Congratulations on passing the 4th level, the next round of assessment, and cultivating a legendary level sword skill to the beginning within 3 months." At the same time, a golden light appeared on the Azure Sword tablet and enveloped UTN, representing that UTN had passed the 4th level. But the other saints who had never seen the golden light before were stunned. Golden light, what's going on? Didn't this person pass the 3rd level? Why hasn't he come out of consciousness yet? He should enter the Azure Temple. Could it be that he is still in the assessment? Could it be that he has just passed another level? This is not clear. We only know that the third level is to comprehend the silver level sword technique, and the others are not clear. The Holy Light Sword Saint should know something, but unfortunately he entered the temple, and he can't be contacted for the time being. Many people have actually guessed in their hearts whether Yi Tian has passed the fourth level, but after passing the fourth level so quickly, they just don't believe it, thinking that it is impossible. And among the Azure Sword Tablet, Yi Tian continued to comprehend the legendary sword skills. The legendary sword skill that appears is called the Sky Blade. With a 10-fold time acceleration and a 20-fold comprehension increase, Yi Tian didn't take 3 months at all, and it only took 1 day to comprehend the legendary level sword technique to the entry level. Outside, Yi Tian's body was shrouded in the purple light of the Azure Sword Tablet again. Such a vision has attracted the attention of many saints, and there have been many discussions. They were very curious about when Yi Tian would return to consciousness from the Azure Sword Tablet. They didn't dare to attack Yi Tian. During the assessment, the body of the examiner was protected by the Azure Sword Tablet. If they wanted to attack the assessor, the Azure Sword Tablet would release a knife chi attack, which was an attack that even the Emperor level did not dare to withstand, and these Emperor level of them would definitely be killed in seconds. And after comprehending the legendary sword technique Firmament Blade, Yi Tian was secretly looking forward to it. Will there be a god-level sword technique? Yi Tian thought so. Chapter 267. Yi Tian didn't have a god-level sword skill so far, so he was very eager for one. Now, he has broken through the Sky Blue Sword Tablet, and even seen the legendary sword skills. If he can continue to break through, maybe he can see the god-level sword skills. If he really has god-level sword skills, he will make a lot of money. Just being able to learn a god-level sword technique, this opportunity is not comparable to others. In anticipation, a mechanical voice sounded, "Flash 1 hit entry, the next round of assessment, within a year, a god-level sword skill will be introduced. This round is the final assessment, and a mysterious reward will be obtained if the assessment is successful." Hearing this voice, Yi Tian was excited. He was finally able to learn a god-level sword skill, but when he heard the mysterious reward, he frowned. If you want to cultivate a god-level sword technique to the entry level, this is too difficult. First of all, if he wants to cultivate a god-level sword technique to the beginning, he must advance the sword path realm to the 3 to 5 realm, and his current sword path realm is only about 28. There was no doubt that he was not yet qualified to comprehend a god-level sword technique to the entry level. Of course, one of the main reasons is that his sword skill talent is only at the morning level, and without the Huihui level sword skill talent, it is impossible to comprehend the sword realm by more than 3%. I still have time. As long as I fuse the Morning Star sword talent from the Holy Light Sword Saint, then I can fuse it into a Radiant Moon level sword talent. As long as the sword realm is advanced to the realm of 3 into 5 in the next 10 days, then there is hope to enter a god-level sword technique. But Yi Tian also knew very well how low this possibility was. His claw realm has already reached 30%, but it will take at least half a year to reach 30% and 5, which can only be completed with the assistance of the Enlightenment Heavenly Monument. And how could his sword path realm reach the realm of 30 into 5 in 10 days? Unless he can hang up. Forget it. Even if you can't complete it, you can't get a mysterious reward, but you can get a god-level sword skill and you're satisfied. Yi Tian thought so. Wow! The god-level sword technique finally appeared under Yi Tian's fierce gaze. God-level sword technique, Starry Sky Annihilation. Yi Tian briefly browsed it, and immediately became short of breath. It turned out to be a god-level sword skill involving space talent, similar to the legendary level sword skill Skybreaking. Any swordsman with space talent can reduce the cultivation requirements. And this god-level sword skill doesn't need more than 3 or 5% of the sword realm, it only needs 30%. Now, Yi Tian really felt hope, and in 10 days, he definitely had the hope of advancing the Dao realm to the Sancheng realm, provided that he first fused the Huihui level sword technique talent. Once the Sancheng sword Dao realm is completed, there is hope for a few days to cultivate god-level sword skills. Yi Tian didn't dare to waste time, and began to fuse the Morning Star sword technique talent inside, regardless of the presence of other people. Rumble. The Morningstar Sword skill talent merged with Yutian's own Morningstar Sword skill talent, and the transformation began. Although the consciousness was still behind the Azure Sword tablet, Yutian's body still had an abnormal situation. The green tendons protruded, sweat stains flowed down his body, and the whole face showed a painful color. Then, many saint-level people looked at Yutian in surprise, not understanding what happened to Yutian's consciousness in the Azure Sword tablet, and such a change would occur. 10 minutes later, Yutian's face returned to normal. The fusion metamorphosis is over. Check. Yutian saw his talent, and his sword talent changed. Sword talent. Wei Yu. Huh. Finally raised the sword talent to the Huihui level. Yutian was very excited, but he also knew that time was precious. So, he hurriedly opened the time talent and the top comprehension talent, and began to comprehend the sword path realm. Huihui level sword talent made Yutian's effect in the realm of the Enlightenment Sword Dao very significant, even faster than the Enlightenment Claw Dao. Not enough time, Yutian estimated. Thereupon, he temporarily returned to consciousness, took out some elixir treasures that could improve his understanding, and swallowed them in one gulp. These treasures were all accumulated by him in the past, and he was not going to take them because they were not necessary. He only thought about selling these treasures in the future, but now he had to use them. With the assistance of many elixirs, Yutian's comprehension has improved a lot, and his comprehension has increased by 20 times under the top-level comprehension talent, and the effect is naturally more significant. The other saint levels saw that Yutian had swallowed so many precious elixirs, some of which were even coveted by them. With so many elixirs, their value is even many times more precious than a gold-level sword skill, and even enough to compare the value of several legendary-level sword skills. Loser! Someone secretly commented on Yutian. But there was no way. This was Yitian's own elixir treasure, and they couldn't interfere. Time passed, and many saint-level people left and went to other places to look for opportunities, but there were still some saint-level who stayed here. At this time, the Holy Light Sword Saint came out with a smile on his face. Holy Light Sword Saint, you're out. A saint-level walked over and told Yutian about the Holy Light Sword Saint. What? A golden glow and a purple glow coming from him. The Holy Light Sword Saint was shocked. The other saints didn't know what was going on. How could he not know? After passing the 3rd level, you can continue to break through, and the 4th level is to comprehend a gold-level sword skill to the entry level within a month. He knew he had no hope of doing it, so he gave up. Judging from Yitian's situation, Yitian has passed the 4th level, and may even have passed the 5th level. Gold-level sword skills, legendary sword skills, he has broken through. How can it be in such a short time? The Holy Light Sword Saint was struck and completely incredulous. But soon, his expression changed. If Yutian introduced a legendary-level sword technique and passed the 5th level, wouldn't it mean that Yutian was enlightening at this time? God-level sword skills. Some emperors of the War God Temple once guessed that the Sky Blue Sword Tablet had God-level sword skills, but who dared to guarantee it? If there were, wouldn't this person have seen God-level sword skills? The Holy Light Sword Saint was short of breath. Although he is only talented in Huihui-level sword skills, he can't comprehend a God-level sword skill, but the value of a God-level sword skill is unimaginable. He believed that the sect forces behind the God of War monument were definitely interested in God-level sword skills, and were even willing to spend a lot of money on the transaction. HMPH, this person must also know the existence of God-level sword skills, so he managed to avoid the assessment. Although it is not clear how he did it, but it is absolutely impossible to rely on his own understanding. Even a Huihui-level sword talent can't pass 5 levels in a row in such a short period of time. He must be cheating. Go out first, and then inform the emperors of the God of War Temple. You must not let this person leave. The Holy Light Sword Saint left, and he didn't even explore other places. This time, he has already reaped a lot of things. And, the God-level sword skill on Yutian's body is the most important. If this news is reported, once he catches Yutian and sets out the content of the God-level sword skill, he will be a great achievement. Swish! The Holy Light Sword Saint silently left the ruins of the Azure Sword Sect and returned to the outside world. Chapter 268. Leaving the ruins of the Azure Sword Sect, the Holy Light Sword Saint immediately contacted an emperor of the God of War temple and told him what had happened in the ruins of the Azure Sword sect, which attracted the attention of the high-level leaders of the God of War temple. Soon after, a meeting was held at the temple of the God of War. The result of the meeting was naturally to arrest UTN, but if the strong man on the emperor list was dispatched, it might attract the attention of other forces, and if the emperor list powerhouse of other forces also appeared at that time, it might interfere with their arrest action. Then, the Golden War Emperor, the Hall Master of the God of War temple, spoke, "Let me go, and follow 2 more emperors, so that it will not attract the attention of other forces." Isn't it a bit risky to let the emperor go? That mysterious martial artist doesn't know where it came from, but he definitely has a sword talent above the Morning Star, and his strength may not be weaker than that of the emperor, said an emperor-level officer. The Golden Battle Emperor laughed and said, "That was my son before, and now my son has successfully broken the first physical limit, and I gave him a Huawei-level knife weapon. It is very easy to capture a saint level with his strength. Besides, who would dare to make a move on me?" Hearing that the emperor had stepped into the emperor level, the other emperors were surprised. It turns out that the emperor has already stepped into the emperor level, then there is no problem. A famous emperor agreed to the Golden Battle Emperor's suggestion. Immediately, the Golden War Emperor informed the emperor of this matter. Pisciris. Temple of Gold, Depths. A golden-haired young man with his body watered like gold was cultivating with his eyes closed, and suddenly he opened his eyes and said with a smile, "Father has finally allowed me to go out. Ha. My Pisciris is famous in the immortal realm." Rumble. A powerful emperor-level aura permeated, making the space faintly vibrate. As he walked out of his quarters, 2 emperors came. Fred has seen the emperor. Jonathan has seen the emperor. The 2 emperors said very respectfully. The 2 emperors are polite. "This time my father asked you to follow me to do a big thing. Let's hurry up, so as not to delay time." The emperor said, "Yes." 2 emperors answered. Then, they rode the teleportation array, crossed multiple cities, and finally came to Sky Blue City. After coming to Azure City, they stayed and did not go to the ruins of the Azure Sword sect, while the Holy Light Sword Saint waited outside the ruins of the Azure Sword sect and reported the situation at any time. The ruins of the Azure Sword sect, among the Azure Sword Monument. Yi Tian was still comprehending the Tao of the Tao. With the assistance of many elixirs that can improve comprehension, as well as 10 times the time acceleration, 20 times the comprehension increase, and the Huawei level sword talent, under this kind of amplification effect, Yi Tian's sword realm is slowly improving. On the 16th day, Yi Tian finally raised the Tao realm to the realm of 3%. At this time, he met the cultivation requirements for cultivating God-level sword skills and Starry Sky extinction. There are only 3 days left. It should be enough to get started with the Starry Sky annihilation cultivation, right? Yi Tian wasn't sure, but he could only give it a try. Fortunately, it was a God-level sword skill that involved spatial talent, otherwise he wouldn't even have the qualifications to cultivate. The heavens already favored him very much, so he had to work hard and give it a try. Once he succeeds, he'll be able to get the mystery reward. Enlightenment, enlightenment, enlightenment. With the talent of time and the talent of top-level comprehension, Yi Tian absorbed the essence of God-level sword skills little by little, and experimented with one move to understand the mysteries of God-level sword skills. Fortunately, Yi Tian's spatial talent was already at the pseudo-mystery level, and he had comprehended the mysteries of space, otherwise it would really be difficult to cultivate God-level sword skills and Starry Sky annihilation. If it was only a top-level spatial talent, Yi Tian would not have the confidence to be able to cultivate the Starry Sky annihilation to the beginning in 3 days, and now the pseudo-mysterious level spatial talent gave him a little hope. The day passes. 2 days have passed. Day 3. There were no more saint levels in front of the Azure Sword Monument, and these holy levels had all left to try their luck elsewhere. The lonely Yi Tian stood in front of the Azure Sword Monument, like a stone statue, motionless. The time for the closure of the Azure Sword Tablet was getting closer and closer, and Yi Tian still hadn't succeeded in cultivating the God-level sword technique Starry Sky Annihilation. Soon, there were only 3 hours left. But Yi Tian didn't have the concept of time at all. His whole mind was focused on the cultivation of God-level sword skills. Where did he remember the day it was closed? 2 hours. An hour. Just when there were 15 minutes left, a bright light suddenly appeared in Yu Tian's mind. He, enlightened. The stars are gone. Yu Tian held a knife and fell from the void, and the entire starry sky seemed to be about to collapse. Rumble. A knife falls, everything is silent, and the starry sky falls. Spatial cracks spread all over the void, turning this space into a large amount of space debris. This is a god-level sword technique that shatters space. Such a strong sword skill. It can't be described as a simple attack power. Shattering space, this damage is too powerful, far from being comparable to a legendary level sword skill. Yu Tian exclaimed. The Azure Sword tablet detected that Yu Tianxi had exhibited a starry sky, and a mechanical voice sounded, "Congratulations on passing the final level, completing the assessment, and obtaining the mysterious reward." As soon as the words fell, a ball of light merged into Yu Tian's consciousness and soul. Before Yu Tian could carefully check the contents of the light cluster, a repulsive force came. The next moment, Yu Tian was teleported out of the ruins of the Azure Sword sect and appeared in the mountains beyond the peak. It's a pity, Yu Tian sighed. He was a pity for the Azure Temple. He could go in and pick up some treasures, but because he stayed in the Azure Sword tablet until now, he was delayed, and as a result, he was excluded before he entered the Azure Temple. However, when he thought of the god-level sword skill Starry Sky Annihilation and that mysterious reward, he didn't care. The Azure Temple is probably not too good, and the treasures there are definitely far from being comparable to god-level sword skills and mysterious rewards, so it doesn't matter if you want to or not. Go back first. Yu Tian left this mountain range and prepared to return to Azure City. But at this moment, he clearly sensed a malice. Holy Light Sword Saint. Yu Tian looked at a saint level not far away, who was a saint-level sword saint. From the Holy Light Sword Saint, he felt full of malice. The top-level good and evil talent will not feel wrong. The Holy Light Sword Saint is indeed full of malice towards him, even much stronger than the malice of the 5 saint level who robbed him before. The Holy Light Sword Saint wants to do something against me? Yu Tian realized. He had never been in contact with the Holy Light Sword Saint, and this body used the disguise talent. It was a new look, and it was impossible for the Holy Light Sword Saint to know him, so the two sides naturally had no grudges. Then there's only one possibility. I've got my attention, Yu Tian said darkly. He passed the final level of the Azure Sword Steel. This matter is estimated that no one knows, but he must have been known by someone after passing the 4th and 5th levels. After all, when he passed the 4th and 5th layers, the Azure Sword tablet will release light to envelop his body, which is a kind of recognition. When other saints saw this scene, they naturally had some guesses. And the Holy Light Sword Saint has passed the 4th layer, and he must know that the Azure Sword tablet has the 4th and 5th levels. Maybe he'll guess that I've seen a god-level sword technique, and he never wanted to disadvantage me. Yu Tian pondered, but just a Holy Light Sword Saint, it is estimated that he will not dare to make a move against him. Maybe there is an Emperor level behind the Holy Light Sword Saint. That's when it happened. In the distance, 3 Emperor level flew over. Yu Tian looked at it and sensed the strong malice on the 3 Emperor level bodies.